Hi, I'm Professor James, and in this lesson what we're going to do is we're going to drape a professional basic bodice. When you're done with this drape, you can use this to do all kinds of flat pattern making, and you'll always know that your patterns fit perfect back to your dress form and everything is balanced. Now I know the series of lessons is a little bit long for doing this basic drape, but the reason is this is going to be the professional way that you would do it if you worked in the industry or you went to a fashion school. What we're doing in this lesson is the most important things are we have all of the grains perfectly in alignment, as well as having the side seams balanced and the armhole is balanced. That's going to be the difference that separates out doing a drape for just home sewing versus a drape for a professional pattern making. Once you've completed this assignment, you can take it all the way to where you transfer it to paper and making these into oak tag slopers. And then from these oak tag slopers, you can do all kinds of pattern making, knowing that it'll fit perfect right back to your dress form or your client. Also, if you're working in the industry and you have to drape for a dress form, and then later on these are going to be graded up to small, medium, large, extra large, you're going to know that everything is already balanced and true and ready for that. Alright, let's get started on taking our measurements and blocking out our muslin. Before we get started with draping, you're going to want to make sure that your dress form is prepped and ready for draping. If you're not sure how to do all of this, you can watch one of my videos on how to prep your dress form. But basically we have our stay wire in here, so this is some twill tape that I'm using. I'm making sure that it is perfectly level with the ground, and the location for this is halfway from the neck to the waist. A lot of dress forms will already have some kind of a little pin or a nail or some kind of a dot at that location. Also, you'll want to make sure that you have two pins here going in opposite directions at the bust apex on both sides. And then I have two pins pointing in this direction, holding this tight at the side seam, and then the opposite here at this side seam. Once you have your stay wire perfectly in place and it is level with the floor, we can come in here and put a mark for our center front. Along with having your stay on here, you'll want to make sure that you also know exactly where your side seam is. If the stitching on here is a little bit off, go ahead and put some draping tape on there, as well as getting your shoulders and neck. Alright, so on my dress form, everything is prepped and ready and good to go. At this point, I know now when I come back and I drape on this, everything's going to be all nice and balanced and perfect. So let's go down to the tabletop and let's get started on blocking out our muslin, and we're going to start draping this. What we want to do is we want to clip and tear the top edge. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come here where the selve edge is, and we're going to clip and tear that off as well. Now let's just work with this as one single layer. For the length grain measurement, we're going to want to get from the top of the metal plate all the way down center front to the waist, plus another 5 inches. Following along with the length grain, we're going to get the measurement from the top of the neck plate down to the waist, plus another 5 inches. Clip it and start to tear into the width. For the width of the fabric, what we're going to do is we're going to start from center front and we're going to measure along the bust apex to the side seam and add another 5 inches. Back up here at the top, we're going to measure from center front to the side seam plus another 5 inches. Clip that and also tear this all the way down to the waist. Now for the back, I'm going to use the exact same measurements. So down here where we were tearing into the width, I'm going to continue right where I left off. And then I can get the same measurement here along the width at the top, and I'm going to clip this and tear it all the way down to the waist. Now you can see we have two pieces. One is for the front and one is for the back. At this stage now, we're ready to block out these two pieces of muslin. Make sure that you're doing this with all of the correct techniques so you can do this professionally. For just a quick reminder, what you're going to want to do is snap all four sides of your muslin and then take out threads from all four sides, making sure you get one last thread to go the full distance. Then we're going to move over to our ironing board. We want to press all of the edges nice and flat and clean. And then after that, we're going to come in here and we're going to start blocking our muslin so all four corners are square. Make sure you're doing this correctly and take your time. Once it's all blocked, go ahead and press, steam, and let this cool off completely. And making sure that you're always pressing going straight down and not across. Alright, so get your two pieces blocked and ready, and we'll move on to the next part. Now that we have our blocked out muslins, what we're going to do is choose one of the length grains. It doesn't matter at first. And along the length grain, we want to measure in 1 inch. And we're going to do a pin pull along that 1 inch line. Along this 1 inch line, we're going to go ahead and finger press this. And then you're going to want to check from this side. You should not be able to see any of your pencil. And as you turn it over, same thing. You should not see any of your pencil because it's perfectly right along that fold. Let's go ahead and check our block just to make sure nothing got twisted. Everything looks good. So I'm going to just continue finger pressing this a little more crisp. And let's go ahead and get it from both sides. And now I'm going to repeat the same process here with my other piece. Alright, now that I have both my pieces blocked as well as I have the single 1 inch fold, what we're going to do is we're going to turn these into a front piece and a back piece. Go ahead and turn them so the folded edge is out here to your right side and the other folded edge is out here to your left side, and this is the length grain. Now let's take this one here on our right. Up at the top we're going to put an N for neck, and down at the bottom we'll put a W for waist. This is going to be our front piece. For this one here on the left side, here's the fold over to the left side. Again, what we're going to do is up at the top we're going to put N for neck, and following along the fold down at the bottom, W for waist, and this will be our back. Alright, let's get started by taking our front up to the dress form. Okay, for the front, so here's the fold. We put the N for neck, the W for waist. We're going to come over here to center front. We're going to hold this at the top of the neck plate. I'll come down here and I'll pin this at the neck. And then I'm going to go gently over the bust and down to the waist. And I'm going to pin this down here at the waist. Now I want to come in here with a ruler and I want to check that I'm not pulling this tight against her body or it's too loose. So as I go across from apex to apex, the muslin fabric should be flowing right through here and touching the ruler along the horizontal bounce line. Now we can come in here and let's get our mark for center front at the neck, and let's also put a dot at center front at the waist. And when I get this dot, it's following along the bottom of the waist tape. Alright, at this point now we're ready to take our backs up to the dress form. So again, here's the fold in the fabric. We have the N for neck, the W for waist. We're going to hold this starting at the top of the neck plate. We'll come down center back and pin this at center back at the neck. Then you want to come smooth all the way down to the waist. Don't pull on the fabric. It should be smooth. Use the back of your hand, the back of your fingernails to get this to come all the way down, and we'll pin this at center back at waist. Make sure everything looks nice and natural, and what we're going to do is we're going to mark this with one dot at center back at the neck and one dot at center back at the waist. And again, I'm making this mark at the bottom of the waist tape. Alright, let's take this down, and be sure when you carry it to always carry it folded so nothing gets stretched out. Back here on our tabletop, so here we have the front. This is the fold on our right hand side. That says neck. This is the waist. And then this is our back. The fold is here on our left hand side. This is the neck, and that is the waist. Now let's take a look here at the front first. What we want to do is we want to find the halfway point from the neck to the waist. How I'm going to do this is I'm going to fold right on the dot of the waist. I'll bring it up here to the neck, and I'm going to crease my muslin at the halfway point. Now what I want to do is I'm going to stand up so I can come in here, and I'm going to do a pin pull going along with the width of the fabric. I want to come back and check that my pin pull was perfectly straight, and then we're going to go ahead and mark this in with our ruler and pencil. Now this is our new horizontal balance line, and this is also the level for the bust apex. Along the horizontal balance line, we want to measure from center front to the bust apex. What we're going to do is we're going to measure from center front to the bust apex. And we're going to put a small cross mark there. If you're not sure where the bust apex is on your dress form, it should line up perfectly with the princess panel that's already on your dress form, and it crosses over the horizontal balance line. If for some reason your dress form does not have a princess panel, or you don't trust placement of it, what you can do is you can attach a string here at the shoulder level, armhole ridge, and bring this down to center front at the waist. And then where it crosses over the horizontal bounce line is going to be the apex for your dress form. And then we're also going to continue on all the way over here to the side seam. Then you want to continue measuring all the way to the side seam. So again, center front all the way here to the side seam. And then put a cross mark on your horizontal bounce line. The apex here, we're going to circle it, and if you want, you can write the word apex on here. As you do this drape more and more often, you don't have to actually write the word apex. That's just for the beginners. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the side seam, and we're going to bring the side seam over to the apex. And we want to crease the muslin here on the horizontal bounce line. And basically we're finding the halfway point between the apex and the side seam. Now at this halfway point between the side seam and the apex, I'm going to do a pin pull going with the lengthwise grain. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and do a pin pull at the apex, again going with the lengthwise grain. Take a minute to always keep sharpening your pencil so you have nice, crisp, thin lines on your muslin. Alright, let's switch this over and we're going to now work on the back. For finding the horizontal bounce line on the back, we're going to go from the neck at center back to the waist. We're going to divide that in half, and then we'll divide that in half again. This quarter panel is going to be the horizontal bounce line for the back. It's also going to be your shoulder blade level. So here we have the fold is on the left side, the neck is here, the waist is here. Again, we want to find the halfway point from the neck and the waist. So I'm going to fold the waist going up towards the neck, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to crease this in the middle. I'm going to put a light dot right there. For the back, we actually want to know the quarter fold going above the halfway point. So I'm going to start again from the halfway point and fold up towards the neck, and then I'll crease my muslin and I'll get my mark for the quarter fold. So again, this was the neck and the waist. We found the halfway point. Back up to the neck, we found the halfway point again. Now I'm going to do a pin pull along this quarter fold. I'm going to check the accuracy of my pin pull, and then I'll go ahead and put this in with pencil. Along this horizontal bounce line, we're going to want to know where is the armhole ridge, and then we're also going to put a guideline here for the straight of grain for our princess panel. Let's go over to the dress form and we'll find those measurements now. Alright, so back here on the dress form, we can pin the neck dot right at the center back. And then I'm going to come down the dress form to find this quarter fold. And what I'll do is I'll put a pin here on the dress form so I know right where that quarter fold mark is. Now what I can do is I can line up my tape here along that quarter fold to come out and take my measurement on the armhole ridge. Out here, you want to take the measurement as far as you can go while you're still on the actual dress form. Now back here on our muslin, we're going to go from the center back along the horizontal bounce line, that same measurement, and you're going to add one more quarter of an inch. At this location, let's do a pin pull for about 3 inches. And go ahead and draw in this guideline for 3 inches. We're going to go from that guideline towards center back 1 inch and 1/4. At this new point, we're going to do a pin pull for the full length of the fabric. After you do your pin pull, let's double check to make sure it's accurate. And then we'll go ahead and fill this in with a sharp pencil. Okay, let's double check all of our work before we start draping. This is the center back here on the left side. We have a dot for the neck, the waist, a dot for the halfway point, and halfway between neck and waist is our horizontal bounce line. This is also your shoulder blade level. We measured out to the armhole ridge and we added another 1/4 of an inch, and we did a short pin pull for a guideline. And then we came back 1 inch and 1/4 and we did a pin pull guideline for the full length of your fabric. Let's check the block before we move on, and everything's looking good. Let's come over here and take a look at your front. Again, here's the center front on a fold. This is the neck. This is your waist. The middle of them is your horizontal bounce line, which is also the same level as the apex. We measured in for the distance for the apex. We did a pin pull and a guideline. We also found the distance from center front to side seam. And then halfway between those is our guideline here for the center of the princess panel. Let's also check the block for our front before we go up and start draping. Alright, everything is perfect and set and ready to go. Alright, so when you're draping on your dress form, you're going to want to be in an area where you have a lot of room to just kind of move around. So how I have it set up is my dress form is here, pushed up kind of close to a wall, and I'm also near a door. The reason I want to be near a door is so I can use this vertical line as a guide for when I come in and I start draping and I need something to be perfectly vertical. There's also some cabinets off to the side here when I need a horizontal reference. I could even reference this top edge of this as well. Something else is you're going to want to have the horizontal bounce line for the apex at your eye level. So go ahead and bring your dress form right up to that eye level for the beginning part of this drape. You'll notice also I have a lot of room behind me, so I'm able to step back and then come in and I can see that this is totally horizontal when I'm comparing it to some cabinets or shelves. And I can also see if my side seams are straight up and down, as well as my center front and the princess panels. Alright, so let's get out our front block and we're going to start putting it here on our dress form.